In Canada, the average grocery bill has increased by almost $300 per month from 2022 to 2023, a trend which is alarming to a lot of people. We definitely see it, and making us wonder what's causing this. Is it government policy, businesses, increases in the cost of production? And perhaps the biggest question is, what can we as consumers do? Well, I had to get to the bottom of it, so joining me today to discuss the current state of our grocery supply chains, what we're seeing and why we're seeing it, is none other than Dr. Sylvain Charlebois, professor in food distribution and policy in the Faculty of Management and Agriculture at Dalhousie University in Halifax. Dr. Charlebois, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Now, I want to get right into it. So you've made some controversial statements about grocers not necessarily being the primary responsibility for the rising cost of groceries. Have you received any sort of pushback on this?
That's an understatement. Of course I have, because most people don't necessarily understand supply chain economics. I mean, that's basically it. For most Canadians, the food industry is the grocery store. So if prices go up and they don't see any justification, they will cry foul. They will accuse grocers, but things are way more complicated than that. I mean, you're saying that it is controversial to say that grocers aren't profiteering. Well, facts are actually there. I mean, if you actually look at audited, verified financial statements of companies, and I'm thinking of the three big ones, Metro, Empire, and Loblaws, gross margins have actually remained the same for 5 years. And you do want to look at gross margins because it is, gross margin will look at revenues minus the cost of goods.
Right,
and if cost of goods, if that margin changes, then that's a sign that perhaps something is going on here. And the other thing, if you look at same store food sales, over time, very rarely you saw same-store food sales growth exceed food inflation, which is another indicator. So, yes, are grocers making record profits? Of course they are. That's how inflation works in nominal dollars. Right. You're supposed to see nominal dollars go up when it comes to profits.
Now, however, I want to just quick jump in here. Do you think that people are just naturally frustrated and want someone to just blame?
Oh, of course.
And it's just the grocery retailers.
If you don't understand the phenomena, or you're having a hard time really connecting dots between Ukraine, supply chains, the currency, interest rates, it's hard for people to understand. But I do want to defend Canadians who do accuse grocers of profiteering. I actually think that they are entitled to complain because of the past. I mean, we have seen this culture of price fixing in the industry, which has bothered a lot of people. The bread price fixing scheme, the scandal really has bothered a lot of people, and the investigation has been ongoing for 9 years. So if Canadians out there are really criticizing grocers, well, there is there's
some merit to that.
To a certain extent. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm curious, is there a healthy percentage of a well-balanced budget that should be going towards food?
So right now, the average household in Canada will spend about 10-11% of its budget on food. And so that's retail only. That excludes restaurants, of course. So that's the sixth lowest percentage in the world.
Now, I'm curious, on that point, in the 1900s, it was around 40%, and in the 1950s, it was around 30% of our annual income on average was spent on groceries. That's just the data that I did. Real quick, I mean, are we just, hoping for something that's too true, or we're just be too hopeful?
I actually think that Canadians have actually been well served. And in fact, in the last couple of years, Canada still has the lowest food inflation rate amongst G7 countries, with the exception, of course, of the United States. So now we're down at 3.6% right now.
I've got to cut you off here, Doctor, but we'll get right back into it when we come back. Government versus corporate relations and how they impact prices. Thank you.
I'ma rule the world, yeah.